I remember this one Christmas in particular, sitting around my big dining room table with all of my family, cousins, aunts, and uncles, and we were playing 6 Point Pitch, which is the card game that my family loves. And I remember looking around the table and almost having this out of body experience as I see everybody just seemingly enjoying the present moment. And all I could think about was how I wanted to go back and get more food. I look around the table and it doesn't seem like anybody cares that there's pie still left over, that there's all these snacks and cookies and things. It doesn't seem like anybody cares about the food. It doesn't seem like anybody has all these cravings and constant, really almost oppressive food thoughts. Everyone's just sitting and laughing and living in the present moment. And I felt so wrong and ashamed and guilty, like something has to be wrong with me that I can't stop thinking about food. I can't just simply live in the present moment, and I can't go back for more food because nobody else is eating, and I would feel so embarrassed if I continued to eat. So the whole day I felt miserable from how much food I did eat. I felt guilty, I felt ashamed, I felt wrong, broken, and then still when everyone went to bed, I ate more food in secret. Hey sisters, it's Kirsten here with Totus Wellness. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the most difficult holiday eating struggles and how to move through them and handle them in a nourishing yet non-restrictive way where you're not fueled with guilt, shame, and constant food thoughts. I used to have such a love-hate relationship around the holidays when I was dieting because I love the holidays, especially Christmas. I love my family and I love good food. I come from a really big family, and so we always have this kind of potluck style meal where everyone brings a bunch of food. It's buffet style, so you can eat as much of you as you want. You can eat whatever you want. And this was a real problem when I was dieting. And every Christmas or Thanksgiving, one of two scenarios would play out. The first scenario is I would be dieting all year long, trying to restrict food, trying to be good, and finally reach my New Year's resolution, which never happened. And so I would be restricting into the holidays, and I would go into, let's say, Thanksgiving Day with this mindset that I need to save up my calories. So I'm going to do a really hard workout, and I'm going to skip breakfast, and I'm only going to drink water all day. That way I can save up my calories for the big Thanksgiving lunch. The other scenario is I would have been dieting again all year long, or at least attempting to diet all year long. And I would get to the holidays and just be like, meh, screw it. It's the holidays. I'm going to enjoy the holidays. I'm going to indulge all throughout the holidays from Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's. And then on New Year's Eve, I'm going to set a New Year's resolution and get back on track the next year. Both scenarios would always end up the same. I would get to Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day and I would just way overeat. I felt like I would lose control around the foods. The entire time, all I could think about was food. I couldn't live in the present moment. I couldn't enjoy the day. I would eat to the point of making myself almost miserable and still somehow not feel satisfied, still wanting to go back for more and more and more. Food kind of just ruined the holidays for me. Then I would create the same New Year's resolution as every single year prior, be really motivated, and within a few weeks already be falling off track. I would spend the rest of the year trying to get back on track, only to end up in the exact same place every single holiday season. Holidays for a lot of people feel like the perfect storm, and New Year's feels like the perfect cure. Except you just stay stuck in the same exact dysfunctional cycles year after year after year, and the holidays just only seem to get more miserable. Which is why today we're going to be getting into the top 6 biggest food struggles that I see women struggle with every single year. Let's get into it. I think the number one problem that everyone seems to struggle with, and it's what I struggled with the most, is this food abundance. Maybe you have multiple celebrations to go to like I did. You know, I have my husband's side of the family, I have my side of the family, then there's cousins, and there's so many celebrations throughout the whole holiday season. Maybe you have kids' parties. There's just so many celebrations with lots and lots of food around the holiday season. And a lot of times people do have that kind of buffet style celebration where it's kind of like a potluck, and so you can just get as much of what you want endlessly. A lot of times there's a lot of food that's just kept out, like cookies, desserts, things that are super easy to just grab and snack on all throughout the day. A lot of people tell me they just simply struggle with portion control around so much food that is abundant throughout this entire season. But let me tell you something. If you cannot sustain your diet or lifestyle change through a food abundant season or through any season where your normal routine is not normal, then that lifestyle change or diet is not sustainable. So the first solution is to start rethinking how you would typically nourish your body and what you think that is supposed to look like. Because I'm telling you, if you cannot sustain it through the holidays, then it is not sustainable. I teach my clients how to be able to nourish themselves all year long without feeling restricted, without feeling ashamed, without feeling fearful and confused. They just intuitively know how to listen to their body and know how to respond. You will find that the holidays become so much more freeing when you're able to do this. The second solution is that we've got to get rid of this sense of food urgency and scarcity. The reason you might feel so overwhelmed around all this foods is because there likely feels like there's this urgency to eat as much as you can and to try everything. There's a lot of excitement, but there's also guilt because you're like, I don't know if I should be eating all this stuff. And also, you're probably going into the holidays with this food scarcity mindset because maybe you've been dieting all year long, you've been restricting all year long, so your brain has this built-in food scarcity mindset. So when a lot of food is present, your brain wants to get as much as possible, and it almost feels like you've completely lost control, because if you're living in food scarcity world and you've been dieting and you've been restricting all along, your brain's number one priority is going to be to get in as much food as possible, especially the types of food that you have been restricting in particular. Your brain is not going to be able to focus on anything else except for getting all the food, which is probably why you feel out of control in the sense of urgency to keep eating. Now that I no longer restrict and diet throughout the year, food just isn't that big of a deal to me. I feel a lot more calm and peaceful around all of the food, and it becomes so much easier to make nourishing decisions without feeling restricted or overwhelmed or having constant food thoughts and cravings. If you're dieting leading up to the holidays, if you skip breakfast the day of Thanksgiving, if you never allow yourself to eat pie except for around Christmas, you are probably going to feel like you lose control around food on Christmas. We know that in diets where food is restricted, you are 133% more likely to overeat the foods that you restrict. And also, if you do not honor your hunger, whether you don't honor your hunger all year because you're trying to ignore and repress your hunger, or you don't honor your hunger the day of Thanksgiving by skipping breakfast and not eating until lunch, then you are not going to be able to honor your fullness once you start eating. Let me say that again. If you do not honor your hunger, you will not be able to honor your fullness. Now that I no longer feel like I have to eat all of this food, I can eat that piece of pumpkin pie, feel satisfied, guilt-free, and then just move the heck on and be in the present moment with my family the rest of the day without thinking about pumpkin pie again. But if you're restricting, it's going to be really, really, really hard to think about anything else except for food. The second biggest thing that people tend to struggle with are eating kind of special foods in a balanced way. So maybe your favorite foods that you don't eat very often, like stuffing or pumpkin pie. So there's a couple scenarios here that I want to break down and give solutions for each one. The first scenario is maybe there are just certain foods that you really only eat during the holidays. There's like traditional foods for your family or your culture that you really only eat on Christmas or on Thanksgiving. There is going to be this perceived scarcity around this food if you only let yourself eat these foods around the holidays. You've got to eat these foods year round. That doesn't mean you eat them every single day, but that does mean that you include them at other times in the year outside of just Thanksgiving and Christmas. You don't only have to eat stuffing on Thanksgiving Day. And when your brain realizes, I can have stuffing anytime I want throughout the year, stuffing really doesn't seem like that big of a deal to you anymore. You can eat how much you want, stop when you feel full, because I'm an adult and I can eat stuffing in June if I want to. But if there's that one dish that only your grandma can make a certain way and you don't know how to make it, try your best to learn, and if you really can't, take leftovers home and freeze them. Remind yourself that you will be able to eat these foods again. You don't have to eat as much as possible right now. The second scenario around struggling to eat foods in a balanced way is using the holidays as an excuse to just way overindulge. Usually it's because you have this all or nothing mindset around health. Health is not black and white, and you should not treat it as such. A lot of my clients feel like either I eat good and I'm on track and everything's going really, really well, or if I can't do it perfectly, then I don't do it at all and I way overindulge and I just say, screw it, I might as well keep going. You can eat pumpkin pie and still eat vegetables. You can skip your morning grueling workout and still go on a nice family walk. You can go back for seconds and still honor your fullness. You can drink that pumpkin spice latte that you love and decline the desserts that you really don't think are that great. When you get rid of diet rules, you begin to recognize your freedom to choose. And when you pair that freedom to choose with compassion for your body rather than shame, you are going to be naturally pulled toward nourishing decisions without restriction, without food rules, and without guilt. Nourishment will come naturally to you while still being able to enjoy the foods that you love without losing control. And this third scenario that people run into is trying to make healthy substitutions that just are not that good or satisfying. I'm all for making swaps in your recipes if it actually tastes as good as the original. But if it doesn't taste as good as the original, you're not going to be satisfied, and you're probably going to keep going back for more and more and more to try and satisfy that particular craving. Like, how many times have you felt like, okay, I can't eat regular mashed potatoes, so I'll eat cauliflower mashed potatoes, but then you eat cauliflower mashed potatoes and it's like, that's not very satisfying, so I'm still hungry. What if I eat carrot sticks? Maybe that'll help satisfy it. So you eat carrot sticks, and then you're like, I'm still not satisfied. So now you're eating grapes and you're like, that's not satisfying. I'll try a rice cake. And you're hopping from food to food to food, trying to satisfy this craving, and then it still isn't satisfied. So you end up eating the mashed potatoes anyway, but now you feel guilty, so you go way overboard to kind of numb that guilt, and you end up eating way more food than if you just would have allowed yourself to eat those mashed potatoes in the first place. Give yourself permission to eat, y'all. When you pair permission to eat with building attunement with your body and compassion for your body, you will be able to nourish your body and still eat what you love without losing control. Moving on to the third biggest problem I see people run into when it comes to holiday food: tasting all the food while you're cooking and baking. This solution actually still comes back to your freedom to choose. The same God that gave all of us free will is also the same God that gave all of us the Holy Spirit, which dwells within us. Christ has set you free, yet you still act like a slave because of your fear of man, your fear of the unknown, your fear of judgment, your perfectionism, and your people pleasing. We so often make food decisions because we feel pressured to make those food decisions. Because maybe deep down you're afraid of getting judged for your food decisions or for your body. You don't recognize your worth. You feel like you have to prove your worth with what you do, and so you feel pressured to make all these decisions to try and prove your worth. Ultimately, you're making your decisions from this place of fear and lacking. There is no lacking in the kingdom of heaven. There is only abundance. There is no scarcity in the kingdom of heaven. And there is no fear in freedom. There is no pressure in freedom. There is only freedom in love. But I'm willing to bet that you right now watching this video do not have an ounce of compassion for yourself or your body. That there's not love there, there is hate and disgust there. You will never heal a body you hate. You will never be pulled toward nourishing your body when you don't like your body. You need to find a deep Christ-like love for the gift of your body, because it is indeed a gift. I'm not talking about this worldly kind of selfish self-love movement that we got going on. I'm talking about a real full love that comes from Christ alone. When that love is there, you no longer feel pressured by the world when it comes to your food decisions, when it comes to how to nourish your body that God created specifically for you and nobody else. When that fear and pressure are gone, you recognize I have the freedom to choose whether or not I should eat right now or not eat right now. But neither decision proves my worth. Neither decision affects how much God loves me. Neither decision changes my identity. And I don't have to care about other people's perceptions of me or my body. So now that I throw all that fear and pressure aside, what does my body actually need right now? I am free to listen to the body that God gave me, which He designed intelligently, and I am free to choose how to then nourish my body based on what it is telling me. This is how I'm able to say no to food without feeling restricted or without feeling like that food is scarce. This freedom is how we can actually align our desires with the Spirit. God wants us to freely choose Him, not be pressured. This compassion and freedom is what allows me to say, you know what? I don't want a snack right now. I am just going to hold off because I desire to eat this meal with my family. That is going to bring me more joy. And even if I do have a few taste tests, I can still go into dinner with this mindset that I can choose to honor my fullness when we do eat. When I hated my body and feared judgment and lived by diet culture rules and was constantly trying to prove my worth with my body and my food decisions, I never felt free to nourish my body. I felt in bondage to all of these rules about how I felt like I should nourish my body. Now that I've let all of that go, I am naturally pulled toward nourishing decisions, and I feel free in doing that. Okay, this video is going way longer than expected, so we're actually going to break this up into part 1 and part 2. I will link part 2 down in the description below. You're not going to want to miss it because we're going to be covering what to do when your family's love language is food and you've got a lot of food pushers in your family, what to do about all the stress and busyness around the holiday season and how that affects your relationship with food, and what to do about emotional overeating around the holidays. So hurry up and go click that link below and check out part 2. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It'll get my content out to more people. Be sure to comment your biggest food struggle down below so that I can make better videos in the future. And be sure to subscribe to see more content just like this. And let's all remember to pray for each other. I will see you in the next video.